My Disruptive Innovation Plan by Carrie Johansson, Blended Learning in the Virtual Math Environment. I want to take what we know about the enriched blended model in the flipped classroom and combine them to change the way math is being taught in my virtual setting. Math is everywhere, and I still have students and their learning coaches tell me year after year that they don't need math, they were never good at it themselves, and so their child won't be either. We are doing something wrong if students are coming to middle school thinking that they don't need math. How can students not feel connected to a content area they've been using their entire lives? We teach babies how to say they are one. We are counting before we can speak sentences. So why are students thinking they don't need math above the elementary level? My why to creating a blended learning environment is because it is being done in social studies, science, and English, but I am not seeing it done in math. I desire to make math relevant to my students and for them to understand the why behind the math concepts we learn. I want them to be able to say we need this because. As of right now, it is more of a drill and kill, assessment, benchmark type of atmosphere. We are not making real connections to the world around us. The goal is to take the enriched blended learning model and adapt it so that students who attend a virtual school full-time have the same benefits from this model as the students who participate in a brick and mortar setting full or part-time. I want to enhance students' learning, specifically in math, by breaking out of the typical virtual math class setting. What you will see right now is a student completing work in their online school, working on some type of bookwork, then attending a session with the teacher who reviews the same material they just learned. The class students come in and they have a lesson similar to what you would see in a brick and mortar. There is no webcam being used, and students are looking at a whiteboard and listening to a voice. You still have your standard structure, the review, direct instruction, guided practice, maybe some independent practice, and then a closing. During the session, you can easily lose your students if you are not keeping them actively engaged the entire time. Many teachers complain about not having enough student engagement during these sessions. The sessions have some interactive elements. There are tools that can be used, and there is the capability for students to actively participate the entire time. However, everything is already set up, and the time for each activity is allotted in advance. There is not time for students to have much independent practice or time for students to have peer discussions. This is one of the many reasons the setting isn't being as successful as it could be. It's time to take the best elements of the virtual world and the brick and mortar and to put these two together in a strong learning environment for students to thrive. So how is this going to work? Start with a small focus group of 10 to 15 students that will meet once a week. Students receive a short video by the teacher once every unit. The video will include a way that the real world uses the particular math lesson that they are learning in their unit. Students will have assignments out of their online school that will need to be completed before they attend the class session. Teachers will always need to be using the webcam. When a student comes into their live sessions in Blackboard, they will be communicating with their teachers immediately. In many ways, they can and will be communicating with their teachers and peers more than they could in the brick and mortar setting and for a longer period of time. We will be discussing several different variables depending on what students are currently working on. My goal will be to always have the focus on what the students are learning and how they're using what they're learning. I am keeping in mind that blended learning by definition has elements of students' control over time, place, path, or pace. So I will be using the COVA framework to guide the blended learning. Students will be choosing what they need their experience to be. So similar to choose your own adventure book in a math class. My sixth graders are going to need guidance on how to make choices because at this time, many of them still don't get to choose what they get to eat each day or if they want to stay home or go with their parent to a sibling's doctor appointment, let alone how they're going to learn. So, however, this is the very reason this is so innovative at this time. Students will choose what they need their experience to be like. I will need to work closely with the parents and teachers. The parents and teach them about COVA, because we are a team in the virtual setting. So my whole team needs to understand the game plan. They will have the opportunity to create and own their creations. Students will get an opportunity to take ownership on how they show their learning. They can change and adapt their ideas by giving them a voice in the direction the discussion can go. For example, a student may say that third graders could learn about integers and that this isn't as hard as they had anticipated. When I hear this, I will jump on it. How could we teach integers to a group of third graders? Allow them to come up with ways to do this. Develop it and have them teach a concept to a third grade class. They will be able to tell us the why to their learning. They will not just be learning, but my students will be gaining knowledge. I hope students will take away a feeling of control over their learning. Students in our particular setting come to us feeling that the public school system has placed them in a box. They feel tied to a fixed set of standards that they can't live up to. I want my students to feel like they can create the learning environment that best suits their individual needs and gives them room for discovery. If they need an environment that is clear of all distractions, if they need tactile manipulatives or online resources, I want to provide them with the tools to create what they need. I intend to give them a voice so they can describe what their needs are as learners. Students may come to me having no idea what they need in order to learn algebra and geometry. I want them to leave my class with the resources and teach them to connect, reflect, think, grow, and develop authentic learning. So how would the virtual room be set up? First of all, the webcam will need to be used while engaging with students. This is a basic concept, but one that my current school does not expect from the staff. We have to build relationships, and students need to see a person is teaching them, not a computer program. Breakout rooms will be used for self-paced practice and or group discussions. It is required by the state to have a specific amount of time in a live session. So this time will be, this will help guide the students in their growth. Students will be able to pick and choose the activities they need or want to work on. They will have to choose at least one of the rooms to work in during this designated time. This enhances their learning while building relationships. Relationships are important in every setting, but in particular in our virtual setting. Students do not have the same opportunities to engage with other students like they do in the brick and mortar, so allowing for this time to interact and form meaningful relationships is a vital part of the success of our program. I want to take what we know about the enriched blended learning model in the flipped classroom and combine them to change the way math is being taught in the virtual setting. Eventually, I want my students to create their own version of Khan Academy at our school. So this may be something the students can be the driving force behind when it is time. Tell me and I forget, show me and I remember, involve me and I understand, challenge me and I learn. I believe my students will be learning more than they could ever imagine this coming year.